I don't really want to see the doctor. I don't really want to know.
Yeah.
If I don't know, it's going to be okay. If I go to see him, they're going to find out something I don't want to know about. So how do you get people through that with years of conditioning?
Yeah. Well, we asked people, would you suggest anyone else that you know, would you give them that advice to ignore all the data and just hope it works out? And then usually they'll step back and go, yeah, that's really not a good strategy.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. And we're going to talk today about who is patient number one. Or another way to think of it is when you take care of yourself, everyone else benefits. And we're going to be talking with Steve Adams, who is the CEO and founder of the Tiger Performance Institute. How are you, Steve?
Rich, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And Steve, I've actually met Steve, folks. I've actually met him in person twice. Like this is, I have a lot of video friends, but Steve and I have shaken hands and everything. So great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it was fun meeting you and your wife and a bunch of other people that are really cool people that you hang out with.
Such a rare thing, but hopefully that's going to become the norm again.
Yes.
So Steve, you're all involved in not just treating symptoms, but in preemptively helping people to live longer and healthier lives. How did your heart lead you into this work?
Rich, the origin story for this is I was running a big company that I had started from scratch and really kind of hit a wall. And, some people will call it burnout, whatever. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was taking care of everybody else first. And at 52, it hit me hard. And so I exited the business, sold to my partners. And in the process of taking off about a year, I met a naturopathic MD who you've met recently, who, was in a transition himself as a chief medical officer of a clinic, but not really doing what he wanted to do. And he rebuilt me from the ground up using an approach to medicine that I had never experienced, and basically starting at the cellular level and working backwards. And the problem is I felt terrible, but I would go to my regular doctor, who I'm not talking disparagingly about because they are a prisoner of the payer-based system that we're in America, where it's really a break-fix model that they really don't do anything for you until you're sick. And then they're really good at that. Mm-hmm. But the problem was I was coming tired, mentally fatigued, physically fatigued. I had weight gain in the center that I didn't want. I had brain fog, just to name a few. My cognitive performance was even slowing down. And he ran all of his normal standard tests and said, everything's perfect. And you've heard so many stories where they say something silly like just rest more, or maybe you're dehydrated. This guy didn't say that, but he says, I really don't know how to help you. And so then I met Dr. McNamee, who did a whole different kind of testing. And I realized, so he basically decoded why I had acid reflux for 25 years and constipation and all this other stuff. He worked it backwards from genetics and my gut biome, and he solved it. And when I started doing what he asked me to do, in 5 weeks, he solved a 25-year problem for me. And I said to him, we need to start a business together because I'm passionate. My former job before I had my business was a banker, and I used to work with high-level executives. And it's very common for people to get to that 50 mark at a time in life when they're starting to get time, they start to have money, but their health starts to falter. And now their runway gets shortened and they can't enjoy the wealth that they've created because they start into chronic disease. And I'm just kind of on a mission or a quest, if you will, to help people find that there is a different way to approach their health, to become a health investor instead of waiting until you become a healthcare consumer.
I love that. And anyone who's listening to this has probably had a similar experience where the doctors are called in when something's already landed that maybe was unavoidable.
Right. Yeah. It's very common. Right. And they're good at that. But like dentistry spent all of the 20th century convincing us to come in twice a year preventatively.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same model here. We're doing the same thing. And we're saying, because we're also a peak performance company. So we integrate our medicine with the peak performance training for, people who are dentists, lawyers, people who have to perform at a very high level every day. But the stress and the sleepless nights that come with all of that can tend to destroy their bodies. And so we want to undergird that. We're just one piece of the picture puzzle. We're not helping their marketing. We're not helping them with a better mindset. We're fixing them physically.
So the idea, I'm just going to sum it up for the audience. The idea here is we're not just going to allow whatever to happen,
right?
Waiting for a breakdown, and we might not even have a breakdown. It might be just that what we're doing is reducing how well we can show up for ourselves and therefore other people. Instead, right, what we're going for now is we want to make sure that our body, and actually I'd argue as human beings, we want to argue that our body, our emotional state, our intellectual state, our sense of connection or spirituality, our values and principles, our sense of purpose and mission are all at 100%. Because when you have those inner things crack-a-lacking, then you can show up for your partner, you can show up for your family, you can show up for your business, your finances, your lifestyle. Yep. All of that is so much better. And so through a program like yours, you identify in advance where the breakdowns may happen and how you can avoid them, and also where you're not nurturing yourself that you could be nurturing yourself, so that you're really running on all cylinders here.
Rich, you summarized it well. We're basically a mind, body, spirit company, because when somebody comes in and we just made this improvement, and so you haven't experienced it yet set yourself, but we have this really robust intake process now where we get to the emotions and the spirit on the front end, so that people really own and understand at a visceral level, why did they choose to do this and go on this journey. Mm-hmm. And then, because you're right, I mean, the physiology is just one piece, but we all know, let me get a drink here. When we're not healthy, we get to a very base level quickly because we're worried about our health, and the rest of that stuff gets pushed aside because we want to get better. The quote, a man who has his health has 1,000 dreams. The one who doesn't has only one, and that is to get their health back. Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of people, it might not even be about losing their health. It might be just about being mediocre.
I agree. One of the things we talk about, Rich, is what is this costing you? And that's really where we help people understand, I'm exhausted every day when I wake up because I don't sleep well. Well, the not sleep well is the canary in the coal mine. Another one is low libido or sexual dysfunction. That's a canary in the coal mine. Those two things are typically just what you see at the surface, that our doctor and our clinical team, they find what the root cause of those things are. And when somebody comes to us and explains that they're having those kinds of issues, we ask them, what is this costing you? Because a lot of times people are on such autopilot that they haven't really stopped to think about it. But it's costing them a lot, because you can't, like you said, you can't show up for your partner very well. You can't, I know when I'm exhausted, I'm not very good relationally. I'm actually kind of a jerk. But when I'm well rested and energetic, I'm also more generous and giving in relationship. And we all know in relationship, if you're not generous and giving, you're not going to have a good relationship. So,
well, it's certainly going to put stress on it. That's for sure.
It's going to put stress, right? And then if you're not showing up at work the way you could, there's a huge financial potential cost over 5 years. And then what is the cost of dying 5 years earlier than you should have? Or having a really bad chronic disease that really, really incapacitates you. So there's serious costs.
So the first step is to get that we are patient number one, as you put it.
Yes.
And I would imagine that there is a challenge. We were talking about this before we started, actually. Mm-hmm. I was joking a little about how, I don't know if I want to see I'm actually a client, by the way, folks. So, I've bought into this. And I was saying, I'm not sure if I want to see my results And I think what that comes from, if I'm really completely out there, is years of I don't really want to see the doctor. I don't really want to know.
Yeah.
If I don't know, it's going to be okay. If I go to see them, they're going to find out something I don't want to know about. So how do you get people through that, the years of conditioning?
Yeah. Well, we asked people, would you suggest anyone else that you know, would you give them that advice to ignore all the data and just hope it works out? And then usually they'll step back and go, yeah, that's really not a good strategy.
Yeah, there's actually like almost magical thinking associated with that. If I don't get the information, it isn't really happening, and I can just think it'll be okay, and God will take care of me, or the positive power thought will take me through it, or it's like, or maybe there's even a little bit of that Christian Scientist thing, as long as I stay positive, whatever it is just going to clear up. But the second I see a doctor, it becomes concrete, and then I have something to deal with.
That's true. And you know what? Every one of our clients that come to us have a little bit of that fear. And what we talk to them about, though, is, look, Dr. McNamee's approach is what he learns, everything that he learns, you can do something about. Mm-hmm. And what I tell people all the time is, from my own experience, it was actually motivating and liberating, because when I remember the first time I went through a full consult with Dr. McNamee on my results, I stepped back and I told my wife that was the finest healthcare experience I'd ever had in my life, because the comprehensiveness of it, his ability to talk in metaphor so that I got it, like my gut bacteria, he talks about armies and stuff like that, and the break in the army line. And I came away from it going, I'm empowered to make good decisions, because, our whole model of coaching is based on the concept that better awareness leads to better decisions, and then better decisions lead to better results. And so we tell people, don't fear the truth. The facts are your friends, because remember, we're testing from a preventative. We're not doing cancer screens to see if you have it already. You know what I mean? We're looking at inflammation, oxidative stress. We're looking at your biome balance. We're looking at your brain. We're looking at your cardiovascular system for blockage. We're finding all this stuff out in advance, so you have time to work on it before it becomes a problem. Once I do all of that, usually people are ready to embrace it. So did it work on you?
Yeah, it makes sense. So step one is, we're going to make a decision that, you know what, I really do need to take care of myself. I'm not going to wait for something to happen. I'm going to be preemptive. I'm going to explore, how am I sleeping? What am I eating? How much exercise am I getting? How am I handling stress in my life? What is my thinking around that? Right. Then I come in for a whole bunch of testing, which is a little terrifying, because usually when I go to the doctor and they want a whole bunch of testing, it's not for good reasons, but this is for good reasons. I go through a whole bunch of testings, and then I get an assessment. And what comes next?
A personalized, hyper-personalized plan that's just for you. And then you work with a coach who helps you implement that plan.
And that is super important, because like we've been talking about, there's a lot of unconscious and conscious ideas we have about medicine and about wellness that are grounded in, I'd rather not know. And that, or there might be a lot of thinking about, oh, I've tried changing what I eat before, and I just can't do it. Or I've tried exercising before, and I like it for a little while, and then it gets boring. And the coach is going to help you with that. Well,
and the other reason it didn't work is you were guessing. You were trying to biohack on no information, and so you weren't getting results, probably.
Or maybe it's something you learned on Google.
You learned on Google, right? And so
which may or may not be a fit for you,
right? What I'm going to tell you here is, you're going to learn the absolute incontrovertible truth about you. And that is highly motivating. You can't ignore it anymore. And the other thing is, I'll call everybody out on their bluff, is that you won't do it on your own. And so a coach is going to help you get that behavior change that you need over time.
Well, I'll take it one step further, right? I am maybe an atypical client, because I have done a lot on my own, but I won't go as far as I need to go. Even though I'm super motivated and I exercise and I'm pretty good about what I eat and my sleep is good, to really get to that place of peak performance, I need someone behind me. I had a coaching session yesterday, and what the coach was asking me to do was all the stuff that I had been kind of, hemming and hawing about. But now I will approach it because I've got that person holding me accountable, talking. And if I bumble or stumble, he's not going to say, "Oh, you piece of crap, you," which is probably my inner dialogue. He's going to say, "All right, what happened? Let's look at it."
Right. Yeah. We focus on the gain, not the gap, to use Dan Sullivan terminology, if anybody's familiar with that. But the whole idea is we measure backwards. Where have you come from? We don't measure the gap between where you are now and your ideal state, because we're trying to be motivational and encouraging through this whole process.
Well, I would say you're succeeding, even is my experience as a client. All right. So I'm just saying, you're not just trying, you're succeeding. It's that Yoda thing. There is no try. There is only do or do not. And you are definitely doing. All right. So you're in that place. And actually, I think what inspired me to work with your organization was actually your story. I would love you to share with our audience your energy level today, versus before you started doing this work with Dr. Matt McNamara.
Yeah, McNamara. So my energy on a scale of 1 to 10 in 2017 was a 2. I slept for only 2 hours a night for 10 years. I was in bed.
Better than Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
He slept 4 hours, you're really efficient.
Oh, I was terrible. I woke up exhausted. I lived on Starbucks every day, and I was irritable. I actually started exercising poor judgment. I couldn't focus for 10 minutes on anything.
I remember hearing you say that you were really angry too.
Angry. Yep. Yeah. And all it was my autonomic nervous system was so stressed out that mental health and behavior issues are correlated with that. Okay. And so what happened was we had an NFL quarterback as our spokesman for my business in Washington, D.C. area for the Redskins. And he connected me to this brain coach of his who explained to me how the stress response works. And as soon as I started doing some of those exercises that we've trained you guys in, I had a feeling that I'd never felt before in my life. And I realized in that moment that, I'm empowered. I can change the narrative on my health. And I started feeling a little bit better, and I got enough space and started feeling enough better to realize I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do what I'm doing now. And so that's really how I got into this. And now today, my energy on a day-to-day basis is a 9+, and I'm going to be 58 in March. And I can say this with absolute conviction and integrity. I feel better today than I did at 30.
Nice. And that's honestly, that was really what hooked me. I was like, you know what? I want to, as long as I'm in this body, I want to have that high energy experience. Not that I'm not feeling a lack of energy, but when you spoke, I got it. If that's what I really want, I need to take care of the machine, or, from a spiritual point of view, this is the temple that the spirit lives in, and I want to take care of the temple.
That's right. It's a stewardship issue. And one thing I say to people all the time is, look, the solution to every problem you have is not on the outside, it's on the inside. And once you've embraced that and made that decision that, yep, it's in me, the answer lies within me. And then number 2, I'm willing to do whatever it takes now to get that outcome. Now you've made the most important, most difficult decisions already. And now a coach can come alongside you and help you get the rest of the way.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. We're running this master plan program, which encompasses the 12 areas of life that I spat out earlier. And the first step that we tell everyone is, this is the easy, free information, is you got to let go of the things you can't control, which is basically everything that's not between your ears.
Right. What Russia does today.
Right. And start working with the things between your ears. Yeah. And that sounds simple, and it is, but it's not always easy.
It's not. No. That's why the coaching is so important, because they help draw that out of you over time. And our process is a year long, and we actually encourage people to do it 2 or 3 years.
Mhm.
Obviously, the cost goes way down, but we encourage people, like, it's a journey. You got there over 50 years. You're not going to get out of it in 50 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely right. And how can people find you?
The easiest way is just go to tigerpi.com. Tiger PI, like Magnum PI, personal investigator. So tigerpi.com. Learn about it. And then if you're serious about it, there's a button right on the top part of the website where you can book a session to talk to somebody. And then we will spend the first time we talk to you. We don't sell anything. We just want to get your story and find out where you are and make sure there's a really great fit. Because I will not take people's money if I don't feel like we can definitely help them.
Makes sense.
And then if that call goes well, we invite them to a reconnect call where we actually present what we do. And then they make a decision. It's all easy. We don't pressure anybody. Because I want people to be intrinsically motivated and make this decision because they made it, not because I was slick and presented it well.
It makes perfect sense. Okay. And the question I ask everyone, it's a sad moment for me when we come to the end of the show, is what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Oh, one is in my own family. I come from a family where both sides' health is horrendous. And I was on my way to that. And so my kids have watched me reinvent myself health-wise, and they've watched my wife reinvent herself. And it's also made our marriage better. And so at 35 years, we have a renewed marriage, and a lot of people quit at this stage,
Yeah.
the statistics. And so my kids now are wearing Oura rings, and they have biofeedback devices on their bodies, and they are doing the same thing. And so now my grandchildren are going to get raised differently than I was. And so
Nice.
That's one legacy, my own family. But really, I want to impact the health of high achievers all over the world, because when people strike out on their own and they start some kind of business and they have a vision, the only way that's successful is if they are helping people, solving a problem. And so if I can help them do that better, then I can leverage what we do into the rest of the world and impact people and help them take care of themselves and have better marriages, see their grandkids grow up, pursue their bucket lists, and really change how America thinks about healthcare. Instead of wait till I'm sick, let's get after it before I do.
Yeah, that's a great legacy. And it's so true. The way you keep referencing marriages, a lot of what I see when I work with couples is that sometimes both people are what we call here at Rich in Relationship a level 4, right? And a level 4 person is someone they're all paternal or maternal. They're all heart. They will give all of themselves for their children, all of themselves for their family. Or if they're an entrepreneur, they'll give all of themselves for their staff and all of themselves for their business, right to the point where, bam, they crash because they're not taking care of themselves, right? And and they think that it's selfish to take care of themselves. But what they don't realize is, and this has become a very common metaphor, is when the plane's going down, if you're not wearing your oxygen mask, you probably won't get it on your kids,
Right. It's that idea, right? It's almost selfish not to, because again, you take care of you and everybody around you is improved and gets better.
Or if you get it on your kids and you don't go and you don't get it on yourself, they might not get off the plane because they don't know what to do. It's just
right. Now have a parent.
And there's now that there isn't a space for that energy for giving of yourself so that everyone else wins and you receive nothing in return except for the gratification that they're blossoming. There's space for that in the world, but when that becomes the core driver and it's at the expense of caring for yourself, something's way off balance. And so I totally get what you're saying about how since I've done this, my relationship with my children is better, my relationship with my wife is better, and I want everyone to share in that experience.
That's exactly it. And just remember, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not sustainable. And that, if you can't keep going doing what you're doing, then why are you doing it?
Got it. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll have to do this again sometime.
Rich, anytime. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.